What's happening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with your host, Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him. And as always, I'm joined on my football show by NJ.com general assignment reporter Chris Franklin. We were talking a little Penn State football before the show got started. Yeah, it looks like they're gonna lose. I mean, I'm keeping an eye on it, but it looks like Penn State's gonna lose 20, probably about 23-13. And we were talking about, he said that Franklin never wins the big game. And before we get started on the show, talking about not winning the big game, and maybe that was what people would always say about Andy Reid. Andy
Hmm.
Reid could never win the big game. And now his Kansas City Chiefs are 7-0. He's won two Super Bowls or three. I'm drawing a blank right now. I think he's at two and
Two,
two
yeah,
one, two with Mahomes. Headed to their third. I don't think anyone beats them. I know it feels like it should be three. It feels like it's three.
yeah.
It
They
feels
run a
like it's
back to
three.
back, back to back,
And then
and
they won
then
last year.
yeah, they won last year. They won against the Eagles. Yeah, I feel like he has three out of. He's won one somewhere. I don't know if it's 20
Yeah,
or
I
somewhere.
know
It's something like that. Yeah,
he lost to Brady that 1 year, and after that, and they beat San Francisco.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
San
yeah, about that.
Francisco, the
They do like to
Eagles,
forget about that.
and
Not two
who
times.
did they beat in the Super Bowl? San Francisco, the Eagles, and help me out. I know that. I'll look it up in
The,
between.
it's San
But
Francisco twice.
they beat San Francisco twice.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So they got three. Yeah, we both knew they had three. We just couldn't put it together. So we got three Super Bowl wins on their way to the fourth. I don't think there's anyone that would argue. At the very least, he's the best play designer in the game right now. I mean, I like Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. I really like what LaFleur did. I saw it in Game One, and it just kind of blew my mind how efficient he was. Kind of think McVay's a little overvalued, but the point is, I don't think anyone would argue. Patrick Mahomes didn't win any championships in college, but he seems to be a world beater in the NFL. So we got to give Reed credit for that. And as Belichick looks for a job, and rumors are swirling, he might go to the Jets, the Jets, Jets. When you said that James Franklin could never wins the big game, it brought me back to what they used to say about Andy Reid. How much of Andy Reid's success, better yet, let's start here. Can anyone beat the Kansas City Chiefs this year?
I think so. They don't look
Really?
as dominant. I think so. But the thing is, we're seeing the same thing that happened last year with this team. They start out really slow, and then all of a sudden, halfway through the season, it's like, oh yeah, we figured it out. Yeah, you
But,
got it. Yep, you were right.
but a question. They start out really slow. They're 7-0. 7
Yep,
and 0.
I
Can
think
the
it's
Eagles
slow
start
because
that slow? I don't remember the Eagles to start that slow. Can the
hey,
Eagles
I'm
start that slow?
no, no. Oh, that's the 10-1 team. We saw what happened too. Reason why I say it's slow because they've been beatable. They've looked that offenses look human, and so I'm like, I think if you put them in, say,
Okay.
the NFC North, I think they got two losses right now.
Mm,
I think they got one too because of that offense. Their defense is really good. It's like the balance on that team shifted. To me, they're a better defensive team than an offensive team. Maybe DeAndre Hopkins changes that when you add him to it. I think so.
mm.
I just think I just think they're beatable. I look, they're not as dominant as the last 2 years. Now you can say that about the whole entire league. It's like, oh, maybe it's a
Um,
toss up, but I think they maybe have a couple. There's probably two teams. I'll probably say, yeah, one Lions for sure. I think the Lions, maybe the Lions. I think that one too. Maybe the right, depending on the matchup, they get pressure on them. I think he can beat this team because they score. They can score, and I'm not handing them all to it. I think they're the best, still the favorite, but it's not like the last couple of years. I'll go out on that thing.
yeah, you standing 10 toes down on that because that's a look, man.
Yep,
They're
I'm
they're
going on
not
that.
playing their best football, but they're 7-0. Yeah, if you move them to another division, you could say they have another. They may have a loss or two, but then you have to ask yourself: if they go to another division, do they change their offense, change their philosophy to win their division? Andy Reid historically had success in the NFC East because his number one goal is to always win the division and then go from there. The reason why I threw that question out there was because I feel like we're seeing bad coaching really come to fruition in certain areas. And look no further than Philadelphia. I mean, Philly at 5-2. We're also looking at Cincinnati 3-5. Jacksonville, and I love Doug Peterson. I'm a big Doug Peterson supporter, but you got Jacksonville 2-6. The talent doesn't warrant that. And then finally, the Raiders are 2-6, and you look the Giants and Carolina. At some point, the coaching has to be called to the forefront. We changed the quarterbacks, what they did in Carolina. We changed the personnel, but you see good coaching. And would it blow your mind if I told you that the Chargers were 4-3?
No,
Because you would think they weren't that they were a sub 500 team because they haven't played good football. But we look at the Bengals and they're struggling. So the point I'm trying to make is I take you all around and bring you back here. Andy Reid is a head coach. When you talk about winning the big game, you got to win the small games to get to the big game. And unfortunately, in the case of James Franklin, he's not winning the big game because I feel like the talent gap is significant. The reason why Andy Reid is now winning those big games because the talent gap is no longer significant. They no longer have ND Kalu starting a defensive end. You know what I mean? They no longer
day for the pass.
they no
That's
longer
true.
got Mark Semino at middle linebacker. Like, I mean, dude, we can go on and on and on. They no longer got James Thrash on the outside and
Charles Johnson.
Freddie Mitchell in the middle. Exactly, Charles Johnson. I love Deuce Staley, but they don't have Deuce Staley at running back. They've got an assortment of talent. They've got probably the best player in sports, the best athlete in sports, I believe. Now, if you want to throw soccer in there, go ahead. Have at it. He's not better than, Nomar, whoever you want to throw out there. No. He's not better than your favorite soccer player. You got it. Everybody gives you credit for that. The four major sports that generate billions of dollars of revenue that everyone cares about, football, basketball, hockey, and baseball. Yeah, of those four, I would definitely say that Mahomes is the number one athlete in professional sports, and Andy Reid is maximizing that talent. So I I don't think they can be beat. I don't see they're going to always do just enough to win because you have that talent and that coaching and that execution that's always going to be one step ahead. Baltimore maybe has a chance, but here's something that blew my mind, and I had to do a double check. Baltimore isn't even first in their division.
Nope.
So if you can't win your division where you get cracks at everybody, methinks you might struggle when the Chiefs come in the building. What say you?
I think the biggest thing, I think, especially in the AFC, if the Chiefs get the home field throughout, good luck. It doesn't matter. I don't trust the Ravens. They've shown time and time again, as much as I like the Ravens and as a
Mm-hmm.
team as a whole, and Lamar, they just have shown they're not able to go into Arrowhead when it counts and win. I don't think the Steelers are going to, I don't think so. I mean, they don't know who's their
Or
quarterback. They
something
go with Russ.
unforeseen. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on? Texans, no, that's not happening. And then you look at the Bills. The Bills, I just don't think they have the firepower to do it. We've seen Josh Allen go into Arrowhead and struggle. So I think it's going to have to be a team from the NFC, and there's not that many teams from the NFC that you can really look to like that. So, but I still think it depends on the matchup. If the Chiefs lose a couple of these games, and somehow the Ravens or the Steelers, I can't believe I'm saying that even Steelers, but I doubt it. But if the Ravens somehow get a couple of those wins and they somehow get the 1 seed, then I think you have a shot. I just don't know. I just don't see them being a dominant team. They're not going undefeated. B, I don't know. I think they may get 3 losses. Two of them, I'll give them this. Two of those losses are going to be at the end of the season when they rest everybody because they'll probably have everything locked up. So it's like, all right, cool. I still see them they still be a 3 or 4 loss team maybe by then. I still think there's some people in their schedule, but yeah, they're the favorite for sure. I'm not going to count them out in the complete dismissal, but they're touchable. I'll put it that
They're touchable.
way.
Well, this week I forget who they have this week. It escapes my mind, but I know they don't. I know they've got a fairly easier one this week, and at 7-0 right now, almost halfway through the season. We got 2 more games roughly through. We're almost through the season. I'm going to actually say they're going to go undefeated. I don't think there's going to be a team. I
Ooh,
don't see a team beating them. Now, you want to say we think this team can beat them, but if you had to bet your house, your mortgage, your car note, and your spouse on it, you're not that certain. You're not that certain.
mm,
Think about it. You're not. There's no team that you can say, you know what? I'm willing to put it all on the line that this team's going to walk into Arrowhead or they'll be able to hold serve on their home field. I don't believe it. It's not Buffalo in this. You mentioned the NFC. Look, if you think Detroit, the one team, maybe it's what couple teams in the NFL, but the one major team that hasn't won a Super Bowl is going to do this. I'm good with Jared Goff. Jared Goff versus Patrick Mahomes. Dan Campbell versus Andy Reid. Stop me when you feel confident about the other guy. Stop me when you feel confident that a guy that said that we're going to bite kneecaps and a guy that's on his second team is the first overall pick. You think they're going to beat Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs?
I think he got the best offensive coordinator of the game going against the best defensive coordinator in that situation where you got Spagnuolo going against Ben Johnson. And we've seen the amount of what can happen. I think it's also key is big that the Super Bowl's indoors in New Orleans, the Caesar Superdome. So I think that gives a benefit. If it was the Lions to come out the NFC, I think that gives them an edge because they can play fast on that track. And I think that would be more thing. If it was some other team, if it was held somewhere like Miami, whatever, I think, okay, yeah, the Chiefs got this, whatever. But the fact that it's only indoors on that type of turf, hopefully the Godfather's not doing it, so everybody's slipping around. I think that's where you look at it that way too. But I'm looking at like, say, I was thinking, let's look at some Chiefs schedule. I feel like it's like that one. I think the Browns in Cleveland, if Jameis plays the way he's doing right now, I think they can give him a game. I don't think they'll win it. I think they can give him a game.
The
That's something I
W,
watch
we
out.
going to eat those wins? That
Right.
good. That dude, we're gonna eat those wins.
Yep,
That
he's gonna do
guy,
that.
we got us just like one of them games. We pull it out the show. Who's bigger? Like that dude. That
Yeah,
dude play for the names on your decals. Wait, we ain't got no names on the helmets. All right, we'll
yeah.
play for the name on the back. That dude, win. That's the guy
I,
you
th-
talking
I
about.
I think there's a chance. I don't think it's not. I think they get because it will be away from Arrowhead late in the year, and the Browns' defense is typically was holding on their own. Is the offense to wait for that? And if James plays away like he did before,
You
eh,
know, so you know who Sofia Varaga is.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I should have said it like that, but yeah,
I got a chance. I got a
yeah,
chance. I
yeah.
got a chance. Now, what's the
I,
likelihood of that chance coming to fruition? This much, not this much. This not this much. This much. This much. That's the likelihood of that chance. But I got a chance because I got air in my lungs. Yeah, there's a chance that that team can win, but the all-out likelihood is never going to happen. Never going to get it. Never going to get it. And you forgot to name something. You mentioned fast track, great point. You mentioned they can get after a great point. You mentioned the top offensive coordinator game versus top two, great points, all great points. But what you forgot to mention is that mofo Patrick Mahomes is on the other side. And when it's nut check time, he always find. And it's not even like, okay, well, if this team didn't make the mistake, if this teams don't make the mistake, it's more than one, it's more than two, it's multiple teams that he just finds a way to beat. And Jalen Hurts played about a perfect game you can play years ago. Made one mistake, and they won by one score. Like it doesn't. It's to me. And I thought it was an easy go. I thought it was a layup. I thought it was something to lighten the mood up for us. But the fact that we're going back, it's funny. I don't see it happening. I don't see a team beating them at all, but yet alone in the Super Bowl. Now, I want to jump from one team that I don't believe is going to lose. So I need you to pick a team that you think is going to lose its grip on first place. Rather than go through all the teams, two teams that I think right now, at least on my end, that are surprisingly in first place, but two teams that you've kind of thought would be here at this point: the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC South at 5-3, and the Arizona, you gotta be me Cardinals at 4-4. Which team you gotta be me that this team is somehow number one in their division? Get the out of here, man. But nevertheless, they are, and they're gonna be my pick this week to beat the Bears. I think they cover it too. Arizona versus Atlanta. Who is more likely to hold on to their first place lead?
I think Atlanta. I think I think that definitely is just over the fact that the South as a whole is borderline. Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this now because they play well early in the season, but is borderline dumpsterish in terms of that. Well, and I feel bad. It's not so much the Tampa Bay Buccaneers; they lost their wide receiver, and that was I still understand why they rushed Mike Evans back into there, and the Godwin injury was just bad overall. But when you look at the Falcons team as a whole, offensively they're starting to get things going a little bit. You got B. John Robinson, where it's going to be
An
we start to
amazing
get
run
these colder
last
weather
week.
games. Oh yeah, and it starts to get these cold weather games, and these teams are playing that Van Gogh style two back safeties. He can eat up, especially when you get Drake London and Kyle Pitts involved in that offense. he can really start getting some yards picking it up. And defensively, they're really good. Got two really good safeties. You got Judon playing this. You're playing well on the outside. And you finally got the pass rush going. So defensively you got it set. I look at them being more apt to holding on to their thing. You look at the Cardinals, Murray, he's all right. That's the thing. Like, it frustrates me because I thought they would do better this year. But then you look at them, you're just like, how still are they even first? Like, I don't think they're going to be
Yeah.
first place long. I think the 49ers, I hate to say it, but I think the 49ers are that team that starts to rise up a little bit and make that run. So they hold on. Will it be a dominant run? No, because I think Seattle's going to eventually adjust, even though they don't have DK Metcalf this week. I think they can still make a
Yeah.
run and adjust in the right time. But yeah, I think it's a safer pick to the Atlanta Falcons to remain to go from here on out to be the division winner, as opposed to the Cardinals. The Cardinals, I know we're saying right condition. Anything else? Could they be a 7 seed? Not really, but stranger things have happened. Starting to see teams fall off a little bit. They got the foundations offensively finally to be a really good team on that side of the ball. Defensively, still have some question marks, but personally, and the whole Budo Baker's leaving, which I don't think he's going to leave, but because every year, it's almost like Taylor Swift's time. Well, it's around this time of year, Budo Baker's leaving, getting traded. Right. Okay. So yeah, I think overall, so I thought this. What do you think, man?
I I actually I hate to say this. I wish I could mumble it. I actually think it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons that hold. Not the Atlanta Falcons, the Arizona Cardinals. I don't like Atlanta. Um, they've won that Eagles game as if they not if but had the schedule going the way they, but most people would have had them anywhere between 3-5 and 5-3. But they still got some tough November and December road games. I like the fact that Arizona has the home field on their side. It's hard to go to Arizona. It's hard to go to Washington and those other places that Atlanta's got to go and play in the cold, but it's not as hard to play in the warm weather. But aside from that, Arizona has a never say, I don't say never say die, but a fighter's mentality. They come out, they don't play the score, they play their style of play. Kyle Murray, while he is a lot of issues, one of the things he is also is a playmaker. Kirk Cousins is not a playmaker. Marvin Harrison Jr. for all his issues, it's not my job to get him the ball, all those things. He's a playmaker. You know what I mean? Bijan Robinson, great running, good solid running back. I don't know if he's a playmaker. So that's why I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think it's going to be the Arizona Cardinals, which is going to be shocking because as that division sits right now, you got Arizona at 4-4, San Francisco 4-4, Seattle 4-4, and the Rams at 3-4. So that, yeah, 3-4. That should. It's funny because I thought they were 4-3, but that close to proximity to one another, Arizona's going to have that pressure on them the entire way. They're not going to be able to take their foot off the pedal. Atlanta, it's like trying to say two A's at the same time. The Falcons have the benefit of having the Carolina Panthers, so they can take their foot off the gas. New Orleans Saints, even though they're getting Carr back, they still fell about the wayside, so they can take their foot off the gas. The only team they legitimately got to worry about is Tampa, and Tampa's going to lose again this weekend. So, yeah, I really like the Cardinals. And I'm surprised to say that out loud to hear it come out of the words don't even make sense as they come out of my mouth, but I definitely like the Cardinals. Definitely like the Cardinals. Now, you mentioned Detroit. Detroit sits at 5-3 with a very convincing win last week against the Cowboys. One says Cowboys, but it wasn't the Cowboys. But they had a convincing week. Are they are they a legitimate Super Bowl contender? I know you're going to say yes. Let me phrase it this way. What about the Lions makes them a legitimate Super Bowl contender?
It's almost like they have. I think to use a Detroit metaphor about cars and everything, they have the right car. It's built almost golf proof. I think when you look at what they have, I like the way their offensive line plays. It plays nasty. They're aggressive. They rely on the run. They use the run a lot. You got two really good running backs. Your wide receiver, I'm gonna say honestly Brown. Yeah, you're right. You hope
Yeah.
Jameson Williams gets his head screwed on right, and you don't lose him if that whole warrant thing goes through because another Alabama wide receiver lately. I don't know what went
Yeah.
through them, but And I look at that offense. It's almost to the point where, and they have the right way of doing it. You jump high, you jump ahead on teams, you jump on teams early on. And even though you don't have Aiden Hutchinson right now, you have a defense that rushes the passer well enough to get pressure, to get sacks, to really get 3 and outs or what have you. And you
Yeah.
roll in there. You can say, like, okay, you're beating up on some bad teams right now. Yeah. Too much to the point that they're disrespectful against the Cowboys. I think, what was it? Like, they said, like, there's a point where four of their last, I think it was like, I forget the stat, excuse me if I get it wrong, but four of the last five touchdowns were involved, or four of the last 5 games involved a trick play for a touchdown. Like, it's like Ben Johnson's bored. He's like, well, I can do this play. Yeah, all right, well, I'll make this work. What have you. So I look at those things. I look at the explosiveness they have. They have the ability to win close games and gut them out. And then you look at the fact that, they're built to play outside. They're not like the Dolphins of like last year, where they can only play a certain style of ball, throw it, throw. Oh no, the teams are taken away. Well, we're done. They can win in multiple ways. So that's why I look at them and think like they're built to be a team that's going to be playing at least the NFC Championship game and probably Super
All right. So as you were talking, I brought up the schedule. They beat the Tennessee Titans. Fine. Got no problem with that. Minnesota Vikings, fine, no problem with that. Dallas Cowboys, fine, no problem with that. Stop me when you hear a true juggernaut here, or a team that also is a high flying team. Seattle Seahawks. Okay. Arizona Cardinals. Okay. And Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They beat their last 2 games. Seattle, they blew the doors off Seattle. And correction, Detroit is 6-1. But then they won their last 2 games by 7 and 6 points. I don't believe Detroit is a Super Bowl contender. I believe they're a regular season team. They're a good team. They're ready to go. But I like my NFC team. I'm almost convinced it's going to be somebody that we've seen before in the Super Bowl. So whether that's the 49ers, whether it's the Eagles or somebody who don't know, someone in that elk, that's what I believe is going to happen. I don't believe you're going to get the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. And let me just say this too. You mentioned a lot of great skill players. Jared Goff is still in charge of their offense. Jared Goff is still the guy that's getting them the quarterback. Jared Goff is still the guy that Sean McVay didn't work for Jimmy Garoppolo, who's no longer on the team anymore. For Trey Lance, who they drafted first, who's no longer on the team anymore. And now they got Brock Purdy, who will more than likely not be on the team anymore in 2 years. So, they made Jared Goff came from the Rams. I understand that, but the point I'm trying to make is San Francisco was in the sweepstakes, and they decided not to go that direction with Goff. So he winds up in Detroit in the same conference. So if the Rams were so afraid of him, they wouldn't have traded him in the same conference. But they managed to do that. So now I don't think I don't believe the Lions are a legitimate contender. I have to say that. I will say they're a legitimate playoff team, and that's supposed to go. And I don't have a legit. I think around week 10, I'll get an idea of who the NFC participant will be in the Super Bowl. But I definitely think the AFC participant is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm shocked that you said that you think they're going to lose. That was news to me. I thought that was a layup. Now losing is a great transition episode. How'd you make out last week?
think I was 2-1. I'm stuck on 2-1. I think I was 2-1 again. This gets to the point where I'm like, I can't go over. I feel like I feel like the Seattle Seahawks of this picking thing, because I cannot get over. I can get there to the play. I'm the Pat Riley of the like Knicks Pat Riley. I
Right.
can get into the playoffs, but I can't win it. I don't get the undefeated thing. So yeah, how about you, man?
I finished up 2-1 for the first time in a long
N-
time, which I'm happy about.
Nice,
But I need some
nice.
3-0 weeks. I think this week may be a good one. So who you got this week? Speaking, so we can get this record sparkling for you. Maybe you get 3-0.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this one. This one might be my loss, but I look at it. It's another system play I have, but I look at it in terms of I'm thinking this team's coming off a high, and the team is going to lose is going to come off a high, or at least not cover. The Giants, I'm taking them. They're four.
I
They're
like
getting
that.
four against the
I like
Commanders.
that. I
A
like that.
division game. The
I like
Giants are hosting. Their defense is like the Giants' defense. If their offense actually put a semblance of, if they look like the last week's Giants, where they're able to move the ball down, if they actually have to score touchdowns at the time, if they're able to move the ball up and down the field, I think they can win outright. I really do. Jay Dan, the team's feeling high this also. We got the Hail Mary. Now all of a sudden, I play that ball in MetLife where it's not so much
that.
great to do that. Yeah, give me them. I like them in terms of that. Another one. and I know we just talked at nauseum about this team, and I still picked them to come out the East. Another one with the same type of system. The Green Bay Packers are hosting the
Mm.
Lions. I
Oh,
look
okay.
at it. I
You've got
think
me
it's.
interested.
I think I'm looking at the way it's just like on the road in Green Bay. Green Bay knows that they need to get back into this race big time.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a desperation game for the Packers because I know wait they don't want to be a 7 seed. They don't want to be a 6 seed. I know they'll say, "Oh, we're not thinking about that." No, they're looking at that, and it's a desperation. I think they got the Lions right now. The Lions are still, let's just say, like man, still smelling themselves and beating these teams big. Division game comes up. I think I'm going with the Packers outright with that. They're getting three to the home three, so basically they're saying it's an even game. I'm taking
Yeah.
them in terms of that. And then the other one, I've been going back and forth between this, just because of the number, not so much as the actual team, but it's the number. I was
Okay.
going to say take the Panthers and say it's like, no, I'm not that stupid. I've been stupid before. I'm not
Thank
that
you.
stupid.
Thank you.
I was like, oh, it's the same system. No, I'm not doing that. I'll go with the Broncos to cover the number. 9.5 is a big number.
5-3 Denver Broncos.
Yep, that's a big number. I know they have to do the whole cross country. They're playing 2 hours early. Normal. Okay, I get that. But 9.5 of this Ravens team, I think Lamar still puts up big numbers. But Broncos are no pushovers. Somehow, Sean Payton's done a good job with Bo Nix, and that offense is doing enough, and that defense is doing enough. Too. I think it's one of those things where it might be the Ravens win by a touchdown, but I still cover with at 9.5. That's a big line for two decent teams. Well, for the Broncos with a decent team. So give me the Broncos, give me the Giants, and give me the Packers.
My three are going to be, and I actually like your Giants pick. I have that down for me as well. I like the Giants pick, but I don't like the Giants to win. I just like them to cover. I think that I think they cover. I think Washington finds a way, but I do have some questions to a team that almost lost a football game to a Bears team that put up 105 yards total offense. Got a little bit of questions there, but the Giants are abysmal at quarterback. My second team to cover, and the big one is the Jaguars, a 7.5 point dog to the Eagles. That's wow. So that means people are buying into the Eagles now. I'm pushed up against, but that means people are buying into the Eagles now. So I'm excited about that as a fan, but also as a person as a shot caller. I actually like the Eagles to roll on that. I like them to roll and be controlling the game, but I like the score to remain roughly 5 to 6 points. So I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on the Detroit Lions. I think the Lions make a move there, and then finally, finally for my final game here, the Cardinals over the Bears. Cardinals are a 2 point favorite. The Bears put up 105 yards worth of offense. They're going into Arizona when it's like 12 degrees in Chicago. I just like Arizona to jump on them early and try to put an end to that football game. And if that happens, then we really got to start talking about Jalen Daniels and Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
We really got to start talking about Rookie of the Year because he's put up a great first half of the season. Now, can he finish strong? That's going to be the good question. But I definitely think they went outright today. Or excuse me, tomorrow. And so I put that short. I got the Cardinals covering at 2 over the Bears. I got the Eagles molly whopping the the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I got the Giants covering against the. I always do this at the very end.
Giants Commanders.
Giants covering the Commanders, but we'll walk out of there. We'll get a better gauge of where Jaden Daniels is health wise. I think you would agree with that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think he's to me. I think to me he's earned that. He's got a big gap on that offensive player of the year. I really think he does, and I think, and I'm feeling more and more confident after seeing Caleb Williams play and everything else. Like he's going to be the guy out this class.
You
He's
think
the
so?
McNabb out the class. To me, he's the McNabb out. It's like 2000. If he's 2000, he's the McNabb out the class. Caleb Williams would be Tim Couch, but a healthier version, like what actually Tim Couch was supposed to be. I think Jaden Daniels just leaps and bounds above Caleb
Yeah.
Williams, even with all those weapons around him. Imagine if Jaden Daniels had more weapons around him like what he has. Terry McLaurin, yeah, I like him.
Yeah,
Zach
but you
Ertz,
can
just
never
pass his play.
plug and play in there because you never know what the coaches, especially in football, they're always going to overcoach. They're always going to overcoach, oversaturate, overplay design. So even if he goes into that system, they might not coach the same system, you know? All right, we're pressed
True.
up
That's
against
very
it,
true.
Chris. So I'm going to wrap it up here because we got about a minute left. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to us. That ends it for another episode. If you enjoyed the podcast, you like the podcast, make sure you share, subscribe, comment, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. He is Chris Franklin, General Assignment Reporter for NJ.com. I am Kwame Fisher-Jones, and as always, until next week, we appreciate your time of year. You be easy.